going to get started. I feel like we should all be waving our flags. Yeah, okay. So welcome to Lynn's LGBTQ Downtown Tour. Today we're going to visit sites of significance to Lynn's LGBTQ community. And first there's some housekeeping. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Then we brought a megaphone and I don't want to use it. I will be crossing at crosswalks and I ask that you do the same for everyone's safety. We're going to make about 8 different stops in about an hour. We're going to wind up on Oxford Street, but I can guide you back here if you need that.
So where are we ending again?
Oxford Street.
Street. Okay, thank you.
The Blue Ox.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the first time giving this tour, and I would like to hear from you all. So at each stop, I'm going to ask for stories, and I hope you have some good ones, or memories, or whatever. If you don't get to tell your story, please email me your story through the About page. On our website, the About page has an email address. And there's much more information at the Lynn Museum in our exhibit and on the website. Okay, so welcome to 776 Washington Street. This is the home of the Lighthouse Cafe and also of Fran's Place. So imagine it's 1937 and you're standing here. You can feel the sea breeze. You can smell the stench of the harbor. The harbor, 100 feet in that direction, you could jump in the water or board your vessel. This is all filled land. So the sailors and seamen were the first customers of the newly opened Lighthouse Cafe in 1937. According to an interview with Jim Zipper, quote, "It started out as a seaman's bar, and then actually the lesbians started going there first for prostitution, as far as I know, getting the sailors' monies." So some of the prostitutes were lesbians, invited other lesbians, and it became a lesbian bar. The Lighthouse was a tough place. Fights were common, such as between 2 butch lesbians fighting over a femme, or straight men fighting gay men. On one occasion, a biker gang took over the Lighthouse, took the bar hostage, started drinking down the bar. Well, one of the lesbians there said, "Well, if you're going to kill us anyway, can we at least drink too?" And they said yes, and everybody drank, and they had, nobody got hurt, at least.
That's good.
Now there's 5 documented arson attempts against the Lighthouse, and the 5th attempt did enough damage that it closed the bar, and that was 1975. If I didn't say it already, the Lighthouse was run by the Collins family, and the family managed to buy the bar through some cleverness and turn it into Fran's Place, which opened in 2016.
No, closed in 2000.
I'm sorry, opened in 1976. Keep me honest. It closed in 2016. It was described as a tacky juke joint, but it nonetheless provided a safe haven where LGBTQ people could be themselves. In 2004, Fran's was named the 3rd best New England nightclub by Channel 7. Now, Fran's Place was not just a place to drink and dance and meet people. They held numerous fundraising benefits for local charities. Every year they would hold a drag review called the Night of 100 Stars, and Fran's was famous for their drag shows. So if you add it up, the Collins family operated a bar here for 79 years. How many here have been to the Lighthouse? Anybody? How many have been to Fran's? So, does somebody have a good Fran's story? Here's where I want to learn from you.
Oh.
A memory of Fran's, a story.
You had one.
You there, you look like you're on the edge of your seat.
The edge of the down ramp here. I had one good story that I came to tell, and that is a story of a night that my girlfriend and I went into the bar. I was living at the time, I believe, in Salem. I had been living in Lynn. I had moved to Salem, but my girlfriend and I were in Salem, and I don't know what the occasion was, but we were dressed in nuns' habits. I don't know why we dressed in nuns' habits, but we were dressed in nuns' habits, and we decided, what the heck, let's go over to Fran's and we'll have some fun. We'll walk into the bar as nuns. And we had two different kinds of habits because she was a costume designer and she had two habits left over from different shows that she was involved in doing the costumes for. And when we walked into the bar, people, it all of a sudden, of course it was noisy in there, but all of a sudden all the people talking went quiet and people looked and started laughing and then started coming over to us saying, oh, did you teach at such and such a school? Or I'm sure I had you in the 8th grade. And I said, well, I don't think so. So it went on like that. People were buying us drinks, the whole thing. My girlfriend smoked. That was a time you could still smoke in bars. And so they were lighting her cigarettes. And the DJ put on the song, I'm Coming Out. So she and I went out into the middle of the dance floor and we started dancing. And she started taking off one piece of the habit, taking off another piece. I took off another piece. So by the end of the song, we had all the habits were totally off. The crowd was going wild. But I can say one thing: Fran's Place clientele loved nuns. We got a big ovation that night. So I came to tell that story, which I love, and I've told many times to many people. The night two nuns walked into Fran's and got a standing O.
Thank you. It's great. Anybody else have a story from Fran's or a memory they want to share?
We'd like to hear the story of the fire.
Well, I think this is a great story. It's in my script, but better to hear it from the man himself. This is Tony the Tiger, a longtime manager at Fran's.
I stayed in the building for 3 whole days. I never left it. The building, all this area, this entire area around the building was ablaze. Right across the street here was a Blue Note Lounge. Right across the street on this side was Lynn Ladder. They tried to get me to evacuate the building and I refused. And because I refused, they were forced to put trucks on both sides of the building and pour water on the top of the roof. It's the only thing that saved the building or wouldn't be here today. Also, the bowling alley was just next door, and the building next to that would not be here today. At 2 o'clock in the morning on the first night of the fire, there was a building right at the end of the street. It's a town senior citizen. They evacuated them out, freezing cold. It was below zero. Inside the bar was 92 degrees with everything shut off. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. That was, the bar was already closed. Everybody went home. These poor people were out in the street. I opened up the bar and worked on it. After hours, I broke the law. I had the bar filled with elderly. These were the people that were complaining to City Hall. They had complaints against the bar of loud noise and everything else.
Yeah.
The city of Lynn hated the place.
Yeah.
They could have cared less if the building burst the one, they would have been happy. But that's just the way things were in those days. But all of the people were so grateful that I had let them in. They said, gee, this place isn't as bad as everybody was saying.
That's a good one.
And everybody that came in that I helped loved Fran's Place. I never heard from them ever again after that. And that's my story.
Thank you, Tony.
Good story. Bravo.
Thank you for saving Fran's. And this was the second Great Fire of Lynn in November of 1981. This whole area burned down.
This building itself has historical value. This
So during that fire of 81, with flames on all sides of the buildings, miraculously two bars survived the fire. Fran's place because of Tony and putting all the water on it. And the other place is our next stop. And that survived because it's a concrete bunker and you couldn't burn it if you tried. Yeah, no, I'm talking about.
It was owned by the treasurer of the city. He owned 4 or 5 houses.
Right. Yeah, 212 Broad Street is where Mr. Dominic's was.
Yeah.
At the time, it was JR's Ranch. Yeah. So I'd like to draw your attention over this way. It's kind of hard to see, but do you know where the old Porthole Pub used to be?
Yes.
And do you know where Seaport Landing is?
Yeah.
Right between those is 124, the Lynn Way, and there was a bar there from 1969 to 1971. It was right on the water. Quoting again from Jim Zipper, the Aquarius was right on the water. It was big and beautiful. It was a palace. Gays and lesbians came from all around. It opened in 1969. Now, many people say the beginning of the gay rights movement is 1969, when there were the Stonewall riots in New York City, Greenwich Village. Well, in 1969, Lynn had a beautiful palatial waterfront hop and joint, so we were not too far behind on the gay rights front. And I'm just going to point out, over here is North Shore Community College. They displayed a portion of the AIDS memorial quilt 4 times between 1991 and 1995. And here's where I would say the college is built on, where the factories used to be because of the big fire. Okay, we can skip that. We'll go to our next site, is 212 Broad Street. So this is, welcome to 212 Broad Street. This was the home of Dom's Lounge and Barbecue in 1980, then Billy G's in 81, JR's Ranch in 1981. That's the one that survived the fire. You see it's a concrete bunker. No way you're going to burn that down. In 1982, it was called the Gay Blade. 1983, Marco Marco. And from 83 to 86, it was Mr. Dominic's. Now, we don't know why there were 6 different names for this one location. People have conjectured maybe it was a way of avoiding taxes. Maybe he was looking for the right marketing gimmick to get people in. All these bars were primarily men's bars, and they were operated by Dominic Serino, hence the Mr. Doms, and his wife Judith. We'll hear more about Dom in a little bit. So pay attention on this one. Mr. Dominic's here was the second Mr. Dominic's. We'll see the first Mr. Dominic's in Olympia Square. But don't call this Mr. Dominic's 2, because there was a Mr. Dominic's 2, and that was on Park Street. The Gay Blade was a very short-lived bar. The stories I hear is that the city didn't like the name Gay Blade. Somebody threw a rock through the sign. Now I have a quote from Dave Granisse, who was a DJ at Fran's for a long time, talking about Dom's Lounge and Barbecue. It was a guy's bar. It was very seedy. Come to find out, it was known for, I guess, the hustlers in the area staying out there. One thing I remember about it, they had a rotisserie chicken stand in there, which I thought was kind of funny. And I looked at it one day, and it was just disgusting. I go, who'd go to a bar to buy a rotisserie chicken? And that was Dom's Lounge and Barbecue. Maybe that's why he changed the business to Billy G's. Different menu. Who here has been to Dom's Lounge? Who here has been to Billy G's?
I have not, but it sounds like I missed out.
Who's been to JR's Ranch? Who's been to the Gay Blade? No one. I wanted stories on the gay blade. Who's been to Marco Marco? Okay. You get around, Tony. Who's been to Mr. Dominic's in this location? Okay. Oh, you DJ'd. So do you have any stories about any of those places of this location?
I DJ this. That's what I did, and I've been around before.
And was it mostly a men's bar?
Yeah.
Plus the hustlers? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to, our next stop is 25 Exchange Street, which you may know as the galleries at Lynn Arts. And we'll walk up on Spring Street. So welcome to 25 Exchange Street. This is the home of the galleries at Lynn Arts. And in 2023, the first LGBTQ themed art exhibit was here. It was organized by United Lynn Pride Executive Director Kristen Racinos, and it focused on the Pride flag colors and color symbolism. Now over here is Central Square. Beyond walls lights the underside of the bridge, so we could call this the Rainbow Bridge. And behind me is Frederick Douglass Park. And you see beyond it, there's a green space that's used by the Lynn Museum. That green space is 418 Union Street. It was the home of a bar called Tammany Hall. From 78 to 81, it was a seedy bar called Tammany Hall. So from 78 to 81, a seedy bar called Tammany Hall was at this address, the green space, not the Frederick Douglass Park. And now it's a nice green area used by the Lynn Museum. In 1978, Tammany Hall advertised in the Lynn item asking for attractive and alive saloon keepers. I guess having handsome bartenders was good for business. Now, Dominic Serino, remember him? He bought the bar in 1980, and it burned in February of 81. Along with many businesses in Central Square, there were 20 different communities responded with their fire engines to that blaze. In 86, Serino was found guilty of asking workmen to produce inflated invoices before the fire. So he kind of knew that fire was coming, and they got him for insurance fraud for submitting $56,000 worth of fraudulent insurance claims. So they couldn't catch him for arson, but they got him for the insurance fraud. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison. There were a lot of fires at Fran's place, and the owner, Jay Collins, said to a Lynn fire investigator after Serino went to jail, quote, I can guarantee you will never see another fire in Fran's, and we never did have another one, end quote. Jay Collins didn't name any names, but so this Frederick Douglass Park would not be here if not for that fire that made the space. Now, 590 Washington Street is the home of the Lynn Museum. That's just, we'll be walking right past it, but I thought I'd talk about it here. Lynn's first Pride celebration was held in 2012, organized by Arts After Hours. It was in this green space here. A second Pride occurred in 2013. And then as far as I know, there was a 9-year gap before another Pride event in 2022. And that was United Lynn Pride did that one. From now to October 31st, the United Lynn Pride has an exhibit at the museum, and I urge you to go check it out. So who was here for the first Lynn Pride in 2012? Anyone? Got any stories? We're asking for stories at each location, or memories, or whatever you got.
No, we just went there to support because it was the first, and we have rarely events here at night. And 2012, yeah. Sunil and I are very active with Nike as well. So we we went to Southern.
Okay. Okay, we're going to go towards down here on Washington. So this is our next stop. We believe, but we're not sure, that Mr. Dominic's, the original, was right here. It was at 34 to 36 Central, but I think they kind of changed the traffic pattern here. But this does have an emblem up top that says Central Building. So we believe that Mr. Dominic's was torn down and these apartments were built in the place. Do you think that's accurate? Yeah. Good. From 1975 to 1980, Mr. Dominic's stood here where the apartment buildings are now. In 1976, Mr. Dominic's ran a front page ad in the Lynn item calling itself Lynn's newest gay spot, which was pretty bold for 1976.
Wow. The license board blew a fuse.
1976, you said?
76.
Wow.
Front page of the item.
Wow.
Mind blown.
In a 1976 article in the Gay Community News described Mr. Dominic's as a neighborhood bar where friendliness permeates everything. The neighbors were not as happy and complained about crowding and prostitution, noise. So in 1977, Mr. Dominic's opened Mr. Dominic's 2 at 92 to 98 Park Street. We don't know when that closed, but that was to handle the overflow. So think about that. In 1976, these bars are very, very popular. David Levasseur said of Dominic's, quote, Dominic's was kind of like, it had a home kind of feel. It was very small. It was very small town. Everybody kind of knew each other after a while. It had a plain black and white linoleum floor, some square tables with chairs, and people would be talking to each other and moving amongst the chairs. There was a small dance floor and a jukebox that somebody would play the same song over and over again. And it had a big oval bar. Who's been to Mr. Dominic's at this location? You been here? Got any stories?
No.
Okay.
Nothing I can talk about.
We can turn the camera off. Okay, I'd like you to look across the street, which is where it says Eclipse. That is 47 Central Avenue, home of 47 Central. There were different names and a little bit of shift of management. It was the pub at 47 Central from 1999 to 2009. It was and that was run by George Chakutis, who many of you may know. From 2009 to 2013, it was operated by William Mahoney, and then George got it back in 2013 till 2015. But you know, all those names, everybody just calls everything 47 Central. In 2004, 47 Central was named the best LGBTQ bar on the North Shore by WBZ TV. The bar had numerous fundraising events, and in 2004, the Lynn item called George Chakutis a phenomenon of fundraising. That's how good he was. Who's here? Who's been to 47 Central? Who's got a good story?
I do.
What do you got?
Hello, everyone. My name is Coco Alinsog. I am a city councilor here in Lynn. I'm with fellow city councilor Natasha Medji Madri. So in 2002, 2003, I moved to Lynn from California. Somebody from the West Coast, I don't know anybody here except my aunts. It so happened my aunt's friends are a gay couple who introduced me to 47 Central. My first day here, I met my now best friend Sunil Gulab. So that was
I've been here for a month.
yeah, he's been here for a month. And this place became our sanctuary. Remember, in the old days, this is the only place we can come out and be gay and talk about our day. And then when we go back to our cars, we put different personalities. Most of us. And But somebody that is new to Lynn, I have to find work, right? I go part-time job here, part-time job there, and this is one of my part-time jobs. So I host shows here, and I get paid $50 to $100 by George Chakutis. So I do like lube wrestling or the dating game or a lot of events, even drag shows here. As long as to bring people to the bar, that's my job. I'm like their events coordinator, and then I can't wait. I just save my money every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I pay rent at the end of the month. And this has been very helpful. This is our sanctuary. We go here at four times a week: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We have brunch here. When this closed, like it was just we lost a family because people from all North Shore will drive here because of that experience. So I miss 47 Central, and I'm glad we're having this tour.
The irony behind it is neither of us drink.
It's about community though, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's in the museum there's a panel with some talking about how the city responded to HIV and AIDS, and I just thought it was very funny. There was a group called the Gay and Bi Men's Health Program, and they had one of their members be a drag queen. Her name was Blanche Debris.
Well, the first one was
And-
Miss Syphilis.
Oh, it was Miss Syphilis.
So she wanted everyone's attention to get tested and all. So when she'd come, she'd announce, next up, Miss Syphilis.
Yeah.
She's my coworker. We work
Yeah.
together.
So I think that's wild, and apparently it was very effective too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on 47 Central? Any questions?
Yeah,
No.
so Blanche was a very rather large drag queen, the funniest drag queen, and for her bosom she'd have
Bag of
tons
rice.
rice.
Right.
But this bar really supports the community, like what been mentioned about the HIV epidemic. They've been there educating the community. I remember we even parked the health van here at 2, 3 in the morning, helping people educate them about safe sex. Because when the bar closes, that's what we call
Sidewalk sale.
the sidewalk sale. It's an inside lingo that we use. If you're not coupled, you like walk around, you'll see somebody, you go home with somebody. So we make sure that they're safe. If they're adults and they want to go with somebody, so they go home with something like a brochure, some condoms, and some other materials that needed for them.
So our next stop is right here on Oxford Street. Used to be Joseph's. So across the street is 191 Oxford Street, home of Joseph's Restaurant from 1988 to 2004. Joseph's was owned by Carl Norgol and his partner Joseph Grover. They wanted to create the feel of a gentleman's piano bar. Later, it was also a video bar playing music videos. Carl had an extensive collection of music videos. Joe was a bit surly. To get a drink, it felt like you had to interrupt him. David Levasseur said of Joe, he'd always be playing cards, and so when you wanted something at the bar, it was like you were bothering him, and for him to get up and make you the drink. That's all we know about Joseph's. So who here has been to Joseph's? Who has a memory of Joseph's? Stories, memories, what can you tell us?
It was a piano bar. I was bored with it myself. It was okay if you wanted a quiet space and you needed a sitting thing. It was okay for that.
Quiet bar.
A lot of the regulars of 47 Central, they come to Joseph's first early, and then they will party at 47. Or if you're like a little older crowd and don't like the loud noise of the techno music, you just hang out here. So, but you see people going back and forth.
Okay. So it was Joseph's Restaurant. How was the food?
Never tried it.
Never tried it. And I know 47 had food. Did Franz
On
have
and
food?
off.
Did Franz?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they do,
okay.
on and off. But
Okay.
it's not like a sit-down food. It's a bar food.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions?
True.
Any questions? Well, I'm just going to put a plug in here for United Lynn Pride has opened up an emergency fund, and 30% of any donations to United Lynn Pride go to the emergency fund. That's used if people call up and say, I'm LGBTQ and I lost my housing, or whatever the emergency is, we're able to give them a gift card. So I encourage you to donate to United Lynn Pride. And that's the end of the tour. Thank you very much.